Feldman plays Jonah Sims on NBC's Superstore. I'm unable here from Gold Derby to ask you, Ben, from working 5 years at Superstore, what have you learned?
Absolutely nothing. No, I've learned, I mean, you know, you learn a lot about yourself when you play a character for that period of, for that length of a time. A lot of it is because comedy writers inevitably just start writing towards your strengths or your weaknesses. In my case, your quirks, your neuroses. The scripts just start to read like roasts at one point or another. And I don't know if I've sort of become a character that I play on TV or the characters kind of become me, but I feel like I've learned a lot about myself. And I've learned, you know, it's an ensemble, which was the only thing I ever wanted to be on. And so I've learned what a strong community of actors it really is. It's the greatest group that I've worked with ever, probably. And what an incredible crew is and what it is to just be surrounded by people that have your back all the time.
What is your biggest weakness?
My biggest weakness, that's interesting because it depends on if you're asking as an actor, or as a producer, or as a director. Humble brag. But I have weaknesses aplenty in all of those. I think, you know, there's a certain level of confidence that you kind of need to do comedy. You have to be able, especially comedy where you can throw whatever out there, they'll leave the camera rolling and expect you know, the confidence to expect that what you're going to say, if it's not in the script, is worth listening to or is funny. And then that same confidence carries over to speaking up, communicating concerns or issues or asking questions about your character, directing. It's the same thing. It's I think, in a way, I think that's everybody's weakness, is their level of confidence, be it too little or too much. So it's probably a broad answer, but that would be mine.
Yeah, you were talking about like how the writers lean into your strengths and weaknesses. What do you think for you specifically the writers have leaned into?
Well, it's tough because it's an interesting character when you're playing one of the not lead, but like the sort of there's America and I are kind of at this relationship that is often in the center of the show, and we're surrounded by much zanier personalities, and so a lot of the reality and the responding kind of falls on us. You know, everybody else is kind of being ridiculous, and our job is to kind of sift through that and be oftentimes the viewer, the audience members. I learned a word for this in theater school, and I don't remember what it is, but like when your character is the entry point, is the lens through which the audience sometimes views something. So they've, you know, we react. I react a lot, and I've got sort of a sometimes esoteric, obnoxious, elitist, in a really charming way, vibe that I think they write into a whole bunch. And I'm also, you know, I'm a bumbling idiot who sticks his foot in his mouth all the time as well. So that.
Yeah. You talked about the ensemble nature of the show and how this is such a great ensemble to work with. What is the sort of lightning in a bottle? What is the thing that's special about this particular ensemble and the collaborative approach to your work?
I've been in a lot of casts, and I've yet to find one until this one where there isn't something rotten, something that sort of spoils the rest of it, some sort of a dynamic that makes it difficult to go to work and just feel completely safe, for lack of a less douchey way of saying it. Everybody is extremely strong and in their own specific thing. I think there's no doubling up. There's this person sort of occupies this kind of world on the humanity spectrum, and this person's, you know, a little more ridiculous and is this, and occupies. Everybody brings a very, very, very unique point of view and everybody's tremendously funny and smart, and nobody is the bad egg. I mean, unless it's me. Unless everybody's secretly talking about me behind my back. I'm just going to go ahead and be blissfully ignorant then and assume that it's one of the only casts I've ever seen where everybody, I mean, we go on trips together on our own volition, voluntarily. We just went to New Orleans for Halloween, like a cross-country trip. We go out to dinner all the time. We just did a whole Zoom check-in the other day. It's a family in a nice way and not a way that normal actors lie and say they have in their own respective sets.
Yeah, like everyone you will see the award shows, we're an awards website, like everyone always says, oh, they the best cast in the world. Like, you know, I work with the best.
Everybody's my family, but like secretly, if one of them sits down with one of their other actor friends, they're gonna be like, oh my God, everybody hates blah, blah, blah. And here's why. And I genuinely don't think that's happening here. And I think everybody's tremendously collaborative. And everybody listens. Everybody's there, you know, it's an improv world on our set a lot. And so that breeds a type of person that is really good at listening, hearing what you're doing, and reacting and staying kind of connected.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Do you have, was New Orleans the best trip you've done as a cast?
Yeah. Well, we've done little mini things here and there, and we've done like trips where it's for a work thing. Like, you know, we went to Austin for something and blah, blah, and let's go. But there have been 2 trips that were just to go that had nothing to, and it was Vegas in the first year and New Orleans this year. And yeah, New Orleans, I mean, it was also America couldn't come. Nobody knew it at the time except me, but because she was pregnant, and the only reason she told me was because I wouldn't stop hounding her about not coming. And then Lauren Ash couldn't come at the last second for another reason.
Oh,
so
no.
it was both of us, but it was, I mean, like, now with vampire or people who consider themselves to genuinely be vampires, and we did like weird tours, and we went to Jennifer Connelly's crazy Halloween party, and it was just a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so cool. And then the people who couldn't make it were invited. It wasn't that they weren't like, they
devastated that they couldn't come, and we even had we had friends that were there, like for all Instagram purposes, social media purposes in general. I had cast Darren Criss as Lauren Ash, so Darren would tend to be Lauren whenever the would come to him. So we made do.
Oh, perfect. What has been your favorite ensemble scene in the series? Like where you all singing and bounce off each other and things.
That's interesting. I mean, I think we did an entire episode, maybe in season 2 or season 3, that was a Golden Globes viewing party, and they built a set on the back lot at Universal in one of those old houses, and we spent the week kind of we're so used to being in a giant, fluorescent lit grocery store that it's kind of weirdly special for us. Such a weird job to be in a living room, although it's a fake one. That was really, and it felt like we were at a party for a week. And then there was an entire episode, maybe in the first season, that we'll always talk about as one of the greatest ones ever to shoot. That was called All Nighter, and it was us trapped in the store all night. And getting drunker as the episode went on, and had like a fashion contest and all that kind of stuff. And I think it started to carry over, and I think people, I'm not entirely sure everyone was sober, but I have to assume that they were. It felt like we were pretty drunk, and that was I up there too.
Oh, nice. In season 5, how do you think your character's grown? How do you think what's been new about Jonah in season 5?
Jonah's gotten, I mean, he's been searching, I think, for 4 or 5 seasons. He's been trying to figure out who he is, and attach himself to something, or find something to attach to himself. A cause or a family or whatever it is. I mean, he exists in this world because he's the one that feels like he doesn't maybe necessarily need to be there. And so there've always been questions of, well, what's he doing here? And he seems to have a little more privilege. This isn't mandatory for him. And I think he's been searching. He's been looking. He found a family finally. We see his family in this season, an episode that just aired last week. And we see what a bunch of garbage people they are. And so understandable that he's looking for something. And then so he found that, and that was, over the past couple of years. And then this season, I think he's looking. He wants to stand up for things. He cares about employees' rights and corporate greed, and he wants to take on the system, and he's finding his voice there. And so I think that's been his growth this season.
Yeah, and it has been a show that, like, last season in particular looked at, like, immigration, and this year it obviously continued on with that, but you looked at the unionization and things like that. What's it like in a sort of primetime half-hour sitcom that is clearly a comedy to be taking on these sort of issues and sort of having a look at them? I could not be more thankful for it. I've gotten to the point where it used to feel like, this is maybe going to be an issue episode, to now I'm kind of bummed out when it's not one, when there's not. I was in the writer's office recently, and there's just Post-it notes all over the walls, all over one of the walls, with different potential things that are happening, that are issues, hot button topics that could be worked in some way or another. But what's great about this show and these writers is that if it's not funny, it's not there. They start with, is there a funny angle to this? They're not there. What's nice is they're not cramming any kind of ideology down anybody's throats. They're not saying, this is going to be the episode where we tell, gun enthusiasts that they're wrong. It's this show that's like, these are the things that normal Americans are talking about all the time. The funny ones are the ones we can make funny. We're going to do on our TV show. And then it airs and everyone goes, ooh, you took a risk there and you dared to talk about this. And it's like, not really. We're mirroring, this is what we talk about in real life. Why should we not talk? It's bananas to me that that more shows aren't like this. We shouldn't be the issue comedy. Like when we first started, we were like the diverse cast, or I wasn't, but the majority of it was. And they would be like, well, what conscious efforts did you make they would ask the creator to find this kind of diverse cast, and it was like, I didn't. I just, people walked into the room and that person was funny and that person was funny, and these are what people look like in real life, so then we cast them, and then suddenly we were the diverse issue show. But it's great. I'm very proud of it, and when you're 5 seasons into a show, it's really important to feel like you're doing something and you're talking about something that's important to people. If it was just like a rom-com where it was just like, I love you, and what happened this week? Oh no, we almost broke up, I'd be depressed. Yeah, and I think it is interesting because even though there are episodes where you focus in on these issues more, with the immigration and with the unionization, they were sort of ongoing storylines. They weren't things that sort of we're going to tackle this in an episode and this will be the union episode. It's this is an ongoing thing in the workplace that is going to sort of,
and it's a big box store. It's what better an American microcosm to tell these kind of stories than a store like this. In fact, it kills me that we're not telling the story of what's happening right now in real life. I mean, these people, somewhere between when we wrapped shooting and now, the people that we all have been playing on TV are fucking heroes. These are actual heroes in real life now, who are doing incredible things. And I'm just sitting at home in my basement talking to you on my couch because we wrapped and we wrapped early, didn't even shoot a finale, and all scrambled to get home to avoid. And the people we're playing are out there on the front lines. So it's hard to now not view the world through the kind of Superstore lens at this point in time.
Yeah, I guess it'd be interesting to see what your show does when it returns, when you start getting to film new episodes, to see whether sort of just continue on or whether you address the current, the stuff that everyone's been through. It'll be interesting.
I think ultimately, the most, because it's definitely there. It's hard to ignore, but I think ultimately it's, can we make it funny? And if this becomes unbelievably devastating, which it seems to be on track to be, it may not be something we can make funny. But then again, we ended last season with an ice raid, so who knows?
Yeah, which definitely not a funny thing.
No, I think the rule is if you can make it funny, tell the story. If you can't make it funny, make it your season cliffhanger, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. There's got the golden rule of comedy TV. What do you, or network TV particularly? What do you think? Sorry, I was going to ask. Have you ever worked in a store like Superstore? Do you have any pre-acting jobs in retail or anything?
No, I mean, food. I worked. Okay. My first job was in a Baskin Robbins, and when I went to college for acting, and so I waited tables all the way through college because I kind of assumed, and justifiably so, that that's what I would do for the bulk of my career. Yeah. So yeah, customer service in that regard, in hospitality or whatever, but not in a store like that. Other people in the cast have. There are people who worked in those stores, and some of our cast members didn't even get jobs, like applied for a job at, I think, Target or something, and didn't get it, like right before we started shooting. I think they were just like trying to be interesting and explore their characters, but no, the closest I've gotten was a fancy Italian restaurant, a Thai place, and an ice cream place.
Okay, what do you have a favorite ice cream flavor at Baskin Robbins?
At Baskin Robbins, it would probably be mint chocolate chip. I was fired from Baskin Robbins because I was a 14-year-old who was just giving ice cream away to his friends. My ice cream, I'm a little more, because I'm so obnoxious about food and all things in life. I'm a little more. I like the smaller. My favorite ice cream is the one that you haven't heard of. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's something that you haven't heard of and you're impressed that I know about.
The new trendy flavor at the cool cool ice cream plate.
Bark and sadness flavor.
Yeah. At the speakeasy. Yeah, at the speakeasy ice cream shop that looks like a hairdresser's. Yeah,
it's a mustache flavor is the
yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. What has been the moment on this? Let's stick on season 5. What was the moment in season 5 that you just thought was the funniest sort of moment for you, or the funniest scene to shoot?
I don't know. It's so funny. You do 22 episodes a year, and all just start to blur together. I remember funny moments here and there. I'm not going to have an interesting answer, I think, because I know it's funny. We get asked in interviews a lot, like, who's the biggest prankster? And like, my answer is always, and this is maybe mean or cruel, but it's like, ask one of the hour-long dramas, like, who the prank, like, ask the people that need to pull pranks to kind of have a laugh and break out of whatever seriousness they're in. Because for me, it feels like it's just a constant party I'm the luckiest person on earth. Everybody is insanely funny. I go to work every single day surrounded by the funniest people I know, and I'm constantly the least funny person in the room, which is a dream to me. And so, yeah, it all blurs together. There haven't been like big crazy moments, but every day there's one. Isn't that fascinating? I'm sure your viewers will love that.
Ben, thank you so much for talking with us this I don't know, morning, afternoon. People watching this at any time, so it doesn't really matter.
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah. So thanks for chatting. And for people watching this, you can go to goldderby.com to watch other interviews with celebrities and awards contenders, as well as make your predictions for the Emmy Awards in our prediction center, where you can compete against experts and users from around the world. Ben, thanks for chatting Superstore with us.
So good to talk to you. I'll talk to you later.